Welcome and greetings, career-minded superstars. You are listening to the exclusive Career Coach, your podcast for all things career. And I'm Lisa Edwards, the indispensable career coach for superstars just like you. Now let's dig into this week's topic, shall we? Go from dragging yourself to work each day to finding a job you love. The Career Spring program is for high-achieving and ambitious mid-level professionals like you who are looking for a job that uses your zone of genius, recognizes your value, and pays you what you're worth. If you're ready to learn more, schedule a complimentary consult using the link to my calendar in the show notes. Be sure to follow me on Exclusive Career Coaching on Facebook, Lisa Edwards on LinkedIn, and lisa.edwards on Instagram. Greetings. How's it going, guys? How you doing? I want to start by saying that the love that I'm getting from you guys, both from emails and connections on LinkedIn, and those of you that are choosing to schedule a consult with me as a result of hearing what I do and listening to me on this podcast, has meant the world to me. And if you are loving what you're hearing, I would love it if you would return the favor and rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Those reviews and those ratings really help. We're trying to grow listenership by about 80% over 2023. We've got some very aggressive and specific goals because this is how I'm reaching people and how I am helping people and how I'm growing the tribe. So I hope that you'll help me out in exchange and rate, review, and subscribe. Today we're talking about job counteroffers and how and why to accept and decline them. So we've got some definitions here so you understand and we'll make sure we're on the same page. But I want to start by saying that there are good reasons to accept a counteroffer from your current employer. But if the only reason that you're accepting it is because it's going to pay more than the outside offer that you've received, it's probably the wrong move for you. So we're really going to talk about when should you accept a counteroffer? When should you decline all of that? So what is a counteroffer? And there are actually two ways of talking about this. So when you receive an offer from a potential new employer, so not the company you're working for, you may choose to submit a counteroffer. So this is you counteroffering them and saying, I'd like 15% more on salary or whatever. We're going to talk about what you might counteroffer on. Essentially, what you're doing here is you're accepting parts of the offer. You are saying, I want the job. I am ready to accept the position. However, here are some things I would like to change about that offer. The second kind of counteroffer can come from your current employer. So you go back to your boss and you say, I've received an offer from another company. I want to let you know I'm seriously considering it, with the hopes that they may counteroffer. Now, the way that I put that, the way that I just set that up would be that you would be in hope of a counteroffer, that you would want one. For many of you, you have no desire and nothing that your current employer could say to you would keep you there. No amount of additional money or promises or any of those things are going to change the reason that you wanted to leave in the first place. And it's so important to remember that and not be swayed by the money, because it will be to your own detriment. You're going to find yourself repeating this process in the not too distant future. So let's come up with, first of all, some tools for evaluating a job offer. Of course, you want to look at the total compensation, first of all. So this is not just the salary. This is the benefits. This is possible bonuses. What do you have to do to get those bonuses? Is there equity in the company? Now, many people will counteroffer on base salary, and I am a fan of thinking that you kind of have to pick your battle. It's not likely, for example, that you're going to get more salary and an additional week vacation, right? They're kind of at cross purposes with one another. Now, there's a possibility, right? But it's not terribly likely. So the compensation is certainly one thing you want to look at. I remember when I left Columbus State University and went to Truman, not only was I getting a substantial pay bump, but because of the way the retirement plan was structured at the two schools, I was going to be netting my essential raise, if you will, was something in the neighborhood of 50%, because when you put the additional salary together with the difference in contribution for the retirement, it was really working in my favor. Now, you also want to think about, does the position put you on a track for an advancement? So this is an external offer. You want to know, what are the options? What are the possibilities for me moving up? It may or may not be important to you, but if it is important, you want to make sure that there is possibility there. And then, are there additional perks in this job? So as you're evaluating this offer, what's the work from home policy? Are there flexible hours? You want to think in terms of what's most important to you. If the company has this state-of-the-art rec facility and you're not going to be going into the office, or you don't ever work out, that's a benefit that is of no use to you. And you want to, I always call it shiny object syndrome. You want to be careful that those shiny objects aren't detracting you from what's missing that is actually really important to you. So those are a couple of tools for evaluating an initial job offer. External company, you've been on the interview process, here's the offer. Now, counteroffer strategies. Let's talk a little bit about the counteroffer you may receive from your current employer. So you go to your boss, and whether you're hoping he or she will make a counteroffer, let's just say that there is a counteroffer. So here are some strategies. The first thing, and I kind of alluded to this in the beginning, is know why you were searching in the first place. There's a big difference between being approached by a recruiter and this opportunity kind of comes out of the clear blue sky. There was probably a reason that you took her call and didn't shut her down in the first place. But you really want to think about that. Why am I even interested in this other role? Why am I considering it? And you also want to think in terms of, can the issues at my current employer be resolved? So there's a big difference between the reason I want to leave is the pay, and the reason I want to leave is that the upper management has changed and they are, completely changing the org structure, and I'm going to have to report to a different boss, and like all these compounded kinds of issues. If your only real concern was your current compensation, then, that higher offer might entice you to stay. But you really want to think about the kind of things that no amount of money are going to deal with. If there's no work-life balance and you don't see an end in sight, those are the kind of things. If you think about it like a home buyer, when you look for a home, you can remodel the kitchen, you can change the paint color, you can do a lot of those kind of things. You can't change the location of the home. You can't change, who the next door neighbor or the across the street business is that you're having to look at every day. Those are the things you want to really think about in a job offer and whether you want to accept a counteroffer from your current employer. You also, another kind of thing to think about is, why is your employer making the counteroffer? So is this a situation where you are truly valuable to the company and they really don't want to lose you for whatever reason, whatever it is that you uniquely bring to the company? Or is it because they want to keep you in that role until they find someone else? There is an issue around, once you've kind of let the cat out of the bag, that you have received a counteroffer, they may perceive you as a short-timer under the best of circumstances, that if you stick around, that you won't be there for much longer. So there are some negative consequences to that. So think about, what kind of wording are they using? How have you seen them treat other people in similar situations? Kind of look at all of that. Another situation is paying attention to the details, right? So we talked about the fact that likely the first thing they're going to try to do is give you a higher or a higher salary. And they may be able to give you a higher job title. But what else will change? And do those changes excite you, or do they cause you concern? Will you have some new growth opportunities that leverage your strengths or develop areas that you've been wanting to develop? What else is going to change? Again, if money is the only issue, then great. But for most of us, if we are entertaining external offers, there are other reasons that we are doing that. And then finally, I want you to weigh the pros and cons. So you've got this offer from another employer. You've got a counteroffer from your current employer. What are the benefits of taking the new role? What are the possible downsides? What would be good about staying at your current employer until a better outside offer comes in? So maybe what happens from this outside offer is that you realize, hey, other companies do want me. I am valuable. This position that I've been offered isn't maybe quite right, but now I want to maybe ramp up those conversations with recruiters because I feel much more valuable and I think I have a good market value. And what's the kind of benefit of accepting that new higher paying role with the current employer, right? What might that bring me? So it really is kind of a pros and cons sheet where you evaluate, think always in terms of what of these things is most important to me? Which things what am I seeing that is most important to me? And how do I make this decision based on the things that I value the most, the non-negotiables, as I like to call them. Now let's talk about accepting that counteroffer. So if you decide to decline the outside offer and accept the counteroffer, here are some steps. Here's what you should do next. First of all, you want to thank your boss and others immediately. Let them know you accept. Show them gratitude that they see you as a valuable employee and that they want to keep you, that you're very grateful. You also want to set up a meeting with your boss right away, or in some cases, it may be a new boss, to establish a plan, right? So you want to make sure you're starting off, because in many ways, especially if it is a new role, whether it's with the old boss or the new boss, it's going to be like starting a new job. And so you want to set that up and start yourself off on success. And then you want to sign a contract. So, all the verbiage in the world is great, but until you have something in writing that you can sign, things can always change. So you want to make sure that happens sooner rather than later. One of the cons, which I've alluded to, of accepting a counteroffer from your current employer is that notion that you could be marked as a short timer. And what could happen is best opportunities, Tony roles, Tony assignments may be given to other people, and you may be also watched more closely than before. So I've heard horror stories from some of my clients about how closely the companies watch their LinkedIn profiles for signs that they are about to defect. I think that is a sign of a company that is in trouble if they are doing that on any scale. I suppose it makes sense in some isolated situations with some key people, maybe. But if you are doing that on a much wider scale, there's a reason that you're so worried, and maybe there's a reason that people are leaving in droves. So you really want to think about what are the possible, yes, I'm going to make more money. Yes, I have a higher maybe title and all of that, but what possible downsides might there be? And now here's how to decline the outside company's offer. So we've accepted our counteroffer from our current employer. We're going to stay. You want to send them a written communication, thank them for their time and interest in the position. And you want to briefly explain why you decided not to accept the offer, but I want you to do it in a very positive way and don't necessarily tell them the whole truth. So for example, let's say the company, your current employer, comes back to you with more salary. It's going to be the same job. The other company, the outside company, doesn't need to know all of that. They simply need to know, after receiving your offer, I spoke with my current boss and they were anxious to keep me and were able to make a counteroffer that was attractive to me. That kind of language, right? So let them know that you do accept the time or appreciate the time that they spent with you. And then briefly and very kind of on a very surface level, let them know why you declined. You don't want to say anything negative about the company. I didn't feel like the work was the right fit. I don't think the company's the right fit. Let's just keep it on the positive side as to why you stayed with your current employer. And then keep that door open. I have heard So many of my clients over the years, that first go round with a new employer doesn't work out. Either they don't accept the offer or they aren't given the offer. But because they keep the door open, they keep the lines of communication open with whoever their key contact or contacts are at that new company, it often turns out to be something fruitful down the road. And if you decide to accept the outside offer, what do? You want to stay professional with your current employer. You don't want to burn bridges. I saw this fairly early in my career. I was managing as my first leadership role back at Columbus State University. And I had a coordinator who accepted an outside role, and he just went about burning bridges everywhere he could. And it was fascinating to watch. And he actually said, it doesn't matter because I'm leaving. He didn't get it. And he actually, I was his boss and he was working in the Career Center. He supposedly went to Human Resources to out-process early in the week, like he had some stuff to get done over there, but he wasn't supposed to leave for the rest of the week. He wasn't supposed to be done working. And he never came back from Human Resources. And finally, I reached out to HR and they said, he left here hours ago. So he actually just left furniture and belongings in his office. I mean, he just vanished. So don't burn bridges. It does come back to bite you in the butt, and you just never know. You also want to thank your boss and others for the counteroffer, right? So make sure that they know that you appreciate that they tried to keep you, even though you're not accepting it. Give a brief reason. Again, you don't have to give the real reason, especially with your current employer. My boss is an idiot. I'm not accepting the job because I'm still going to have the same idiot boss. We don't want to say that, right? Again, useful to focus on what you're going towards as opposed to what you are avoiding or moving away from. And then send an exit email to your team. You want to thank them for your support. Make sure you kind of talk about staying in touch. If it's possible to have a meeting with them, it's going to really depend on what your company wants to do about you once they find out that you're leaving. So I hope this has given you some food for thought on how to accept a counteroffer from your current employer, how to decline it, how to get the counteroffer, what you should consider when you're thinking about should I stay or should I go, how to accept and decline the offer from the outside company. So again, hey, rate, review, and subscribe, guys. Give me some love, and I'll see you next week. Take care. You've been listening to The Exclusive Career Coach with Lisa Edwards, CEO of Exclusive Career Coaching. It would be great if you would rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. Also, I want to be your career coach, so be sure to ask questions about your career management challenges and job search situation. Until next time.